Good Friday afternoon, everyone. We made it to Friday. The week is over, and now we're moving into the big game weekend. But first off, we want to talk about those cooler temperatures.
Yeah, very cool here on campus today. Temperatures struggling to get into the mid-50s here across our campus and across the area.
Yeah, I'm student meteorologist Matthew Reagan.
And I'm Casey Cloud. Thanks again so much for joining us here on this Friday evening.
Yeah, we've got a lot to talk about in today's show, especially that snowfall all across the country. No snowfall here, but we're talking about a lot of cool temperatures dipping into the 30s last night. We'll probably be seeing a lot of that again.
That's right, those temperatures getting very cool tonight, expecting 31 here in the metro area, and those temperatures going to cool off here as we get into next week once again with another cool front. Temperatures could get even cooler, and we'll be talking about that more throughout the show.
Absolutely. You'll have some of that later on in the show as well as part of the rest of our team here at FSU Weather, because it's going to be very cold next week. So if you don't have that winter gear out now, I'd suggest you get it out and prepare for next week.
Yeah, and make sure you have those jackets ready if you're not already using them. Very cool already, but next week we're expecting the coolest temperature of this season here across the viewing circle.
And it is a big game weekend as well. We're playing down in South Florida. Not going to be as cold down there in Miami. We'll have that forecast later on as well. But to take a look at what's going on around here, let's send it out to Shane at the wall.
Thanks, guys. Well, on the look at the whole southeast here, we can see that we are in the clear right now as far as the weather goes. The clouds are all around us, but not on top of us, so it was a nice sunny day. But it's going to get very cold, primarily because there's no clouds around right now. And we're going to take a look at exactly what the temperatures and the winds are going to do. The winds are a key player here because they're out of the north, so they're going to bring with them all that really cold air that's going to bring us some surprising lows, if not over the weekend, then definitely later next week. And they're going to remain from the north as we head through the weekend and then shift out of the south, begin to scatter as other weather systems come into play by Monday. That front will be making its way through here or there. That's when the winds will change. But for now, we are looking at a clear and cool weekend, some rain on Monday, and those very cold days to follow. Stay tuned to see just how cold. But tonight in Tallahassee, we're going to get down just below freezing to 31 degrees. It's going to be clear and cold with wind chill in the upper 20s. What do you guys think about that at the desk?
Thanks so much, Shane. Yeah, very cool conditions here with those wind chills, those winds causing a little bit of a factor, causing those temperatures to get even cooler. But this is really a national story. In fact, in Cleveland, there's a chance of snow from all the way from earlier today all the way through Tuesday.
And one thing we want to point out is all of that lake effect snow that's occurring in parts around the Great Lakes of the United States. And we wanted to touch on that real quick to explain exactly what lake effect snow was.
That's right. This is when winds move across the lake. Also, the lake water temperatures, they're warmer than the atmospheric conditions.
Yeah, and all that energy, that pent-up energy from the wind pushing across that lake allows that water vapor content to rise into the atmosphere and then freeze and fall as snow on the leeward side of the lakes.
Yeah, and that can lead to very extensive snowfall totals in areas because of their proximity to these lakes and because of these conditions. But right now, we'll go ahead and take it over to the first local forecast with Paxton.
Thank you, guys. Well, today has been absolutely clear and sunny outside, and it has been a little bit chilly out there as well. So if you're going out there some more tonight, make sure you bring your jackets with you, your scarves, and all those cool weather clothing, because we will be getting quite cool tonight. Currently, right now, it is 52 degrees. We did not even get above the 50s today here in Tallahassee. So we are not having Florida-like weather. We're having more of that central to northern New England kind of weather going on. And as you can see, our dew point is 23. So you could just see how dry it is out there today. And our humidity is also at 32%. So it is quite comfortable out there. And the wind is quite calm as well. But again, it is just a little chilly out there. If you want to go to the beach tomorrow will be a great day despite that cool temperature. The surf is about 1 foot, so it's going to be nice and smooth on the water. The water is 60 degrees though, so if you do go, maybe bring a blanket or some nice towels for you as well. And on the water, it is going to be a little choppy out there, 10 to 15 knots. So if you go offshore, just be aware that it is choppy, but the protected waters, they are a bit smoother for you. Futurecast is showing that we had that low pressure system that came across earlier this week. It's still sitting in southern Florida, and that is bringing in a little bit of a little bit of cloudiness and all of that, but it's not raining as much down there. And then this cold front, or this cold blast, is being dragged behind it, and then we have this high pressure system just north of us as well. So these cooler temperatures will be lingering in our area for these next couple of days until we are hit again around Sunday with another cold front, followed by some moisture and a big cold blast. For tonight, it's going to be 31 Tallahassee. We are literally below freezing. I don't like that. You guys probably don't like that either. It's going to be clear, and it's just going to be cold out there. It's going to be frigid. We have some 20-degree temperatures as well with that wind chill factoring in. And tomorrow, if you want to go to the fair, it is going to be from 12 to 1. The high temperature is going to be 63 degrees. It's going to be chilly tomorrow night as well. So if you're going, make sure you bring your warm weather apparel again. And it will be a little breezy tomorrow night as well as these colder temperatures are moving in. And for tomorrow in Tallahassee, it's going to be 63 degrees. It's going to be nice and sunny. And again, the afternoon is going to be cool, but it'll be a perfect afternoon for you to go to the fair. And looking at the 7-day, we can see that it's 63 tomorrow, and we had that Miami game as well in southern Florida, and it will be nice and sunny for that. But the rain chances pick up, and then Tuesday after that front passed, it's 52 degrees, and then look at that Wednesday morning low at 25 degrees. So you guys need to make sure you stay nice and warm out there. But for now, we're going to hand this on over to Ian with some information about the southeast.
Yeah, you were talking about that cold weather. That's definitely what's been persisting since that cold front moved through, bringing a nice Arctic blast around us. Current conditions for much of the southeast show, hey, look at that. It's very cold. Atlanta with a temperature of 38 degrees. The sun hasn't even set yet. We have 38 degrees in Atlanta, 52 in Tallahassee. Warmer to our south in Florida, 67 in Orlando. We have 77 in Miami. But for the most part, cold conditions will persist, especially in the night. We have actually freeze warnings for much of the southeast west of Tallahassee, but definitely going to be a chilly night. As you can see, those temperatures are already dipping into the 30s for much of the southeast. Those dew points show after that cold front passed on through, that brought our dew points down a ton. You can see Miami's at 54 and Key West at 66, around where the cold front's sitting on top of. But behind it, dry air sitting. You have 23 in Tallahassee. That's extremely dry. So if your lips chap, make sure you're definitely bringing chapstick around, because those winds on top of these dry conditions will definitely chap your lips up a bit. But dry conditions are going to persist throughout this weekend as we have the strong cold front that passed through. Water vapor imagery kind of demonstrates that dryness. You can see as that cold front passed through, right behind is that deepest pocket of dry air. Behind that, conditions might look a little green, but it's for the most part generally dry behind this cold front. So dry conditions will continue into the weekend, and that will give us a sunny weekend, but definitely not going to be on the humid side. Radar shows really not a whole lot to speak of in the southeast. That cold front that passed on through is right over Miami, but for the most part, southeast is going to be quiet for this weekend as we will continue with these dry conditions. Current winds show those winds out of the north after that cold front passed through. You can see it was a bit of a gusty day here in Tallahassee, but that will continue with windy conditions throughout the night. And moving on to the futurecast, showing those temperatures as we move on into the weekend. Friday night's going to have lows dipping in below freezing for much of the southeast, 29 degrees in areas in Mississippi, but that will continue as the futurecast shows. Temperatures will continue to dip as we move on to Saturday. Maybe a bit of a warm up with sunny conditions into the 50s and 60s for areas in Florida, but cold conditions again into Saturday. Saturday night again freezing conditions for areas. You can see 25 up in North Carolina. And that will continue. Tonight's forecast shows 31 degrees, so we will be rushing on the freezing side of things. It's going to be a cold one. And tomorrow's forecast, 64 degrees. So it's going to be definitely a wonderful day tomorrow, but make sure you keep prepared for the cold weather. But we're going to do a segment with John about the history behind the Union Productions with their 50-year anniversary.
Today is the 50th year anniversary of Oglesby Union. It used to be called the University Union when it opened. Here's some of the construction photos from the early 1950s, and here's a weather map on that particular day. It was a warm day when they opened. A high pressure was in control. Highs on that day were in the 80s with lows in the 60s. Here's one of the earlier pictures of some of the folks out there parading around the one building that was Oglesby Union. And here's the picture of the swimming pool most people don't know about. That is where HCB is now. And that was a very popular spot, especially during the summer. And now we're looking at Oglesby Union, very active on most days. Moore Auditorium continues to be used. There are now 3 buildings that consume the Union And the Trading Post is also a very active spot on campus. And also the bowling alley Crenshaw continues to be used day in and day out for strikes against different types of charity events. Strikeout Cancer is one of the most popular events on campus. And we also have Club Down Under, which opened in 2001, hosting local concerts for local venues. And we also have multiple venues, including the Civic Center, which is being used. But now we're going to take a look around the nation with Casey Cloud.
Thanks so much, Jonathan. Let's go ahead and take a look at the watches and warnings that are in effect. In fact, we do have some freeze warnings here across much of the southeast, from New Orleans down toward Dothan and just out to our western counties, talking about Franklin County, also talking about the counties around Liberty and Gadsden under a freeze warning, but we'll get more on the local perspective later. Winter weather advisory here in the central part of the country, and also some winter storm warnings in western Colorado. Temperatures right now, we're sitting very cool across much of the nation. Even here, only 52 degrees, but off to our north and west, just Arctic cool going on. We're talking about 28 in Kansas City and 10 degrees in Billings. Extreme cold even for this time of year, but it's actually a warm-up of what it was 24 hours ago. 18 degrees warmer in Denver, 13 degrees warmer in Albuquerque. A little bit of warm relief for now, if you call it warm, but really this cool air is going to come back into those communities and get really cold over those areas throughout the weekend and early next week, the coldest they've seen all year, and all season that is. Satellite and radar, we see the northeast part of the country getting a lot of snow here. Some lake effect snow around Cleveland, as we were talking about, being mad at the desk. Also around Denver we have some snow, but let's take a closer look at this. And as we do so, we see in Maine, talking about Bangor to Augusta, there's some showers there, or snow showers there. Also, as we kind of look toward the west, talking around Detroit, out toward Grand Rapids, Michigan, snow in those communities, some lake effect snow, in fact, around Grand Rapids and Chicago, and kind of transitioning out here, kind of going further to the west, we see in towards southern Idaho, around Pocatello, Idaho. Also talking about Idaho Falls as well. In these communities, some snowy conditions mixing with some rain and icy, mixy precipitation at times, and more of this in north of Salt Lake City as well. Now going ahead and taking a look at what we're expecting in the weather situation. Denver, I'm talking about Des Moines as well. By 7 p.m. tomorrow night, that snow will move from those communities around Colorado into the north central part of the country. And into Sunday, we'll be watching snow around St. Louis, down toward Columbia, Missouri as well. Now we'll be watching this out to our west. We'll fine-tune the details, as we could have some strong storms as we get into Monday. Tonight, 31 degrees though here in the metro area. Much cooler off to the north and west, even negative conditions in Billings. Tomorrow, cool conditions once again, really cold for this time of year. But right now, we'll go ahead and take it over to Shane with your second local forecast.
Thank you, Casey. Yeah, it's hard to believe how much cold air there is moving into the country, and we are definitely feeling it here in the capital of Florida. See, it was 40 degrees this morning. That was the low today, climbing to 58 degrees, an 18-degree climb, but it didn't even break 60 degrees, and we sure felt it, especially with the breezes. Keep in mind, though, we are indeed well below average on both counts, but we are not anywhere near our records. The record low for this time of year is around 25 or 26 degrees, and we're not going to be getting that today or this weekend, but keep your eye on the 7-day. We could be flirting with it next week. Anyway, right now in the capital, after the sun has gone down, it's cooling to 52 degrees, partly cloudy skies with a very low dew point. Humidity only at 32%. That I say that it's always comfortable where it's under 70, but in fact here's where it's getting so low that it could be so dry it's uncomfortable. Break out the chapstick if you need. Anyway, 50 from 52 in the capital, 46 there in Quincy, 48 in Mariana. Not only are they further north, so they're getting colder air, it's getting darker out there faster, so they're getting a lot colder more quickly than we are. Warmer still at the coast. There are those winds that we saw in the overview earlier, all out of the north, continuing to push in all that cold air from the Arctic air mass to our north, which is not especially welcome here. That's going to be keeping our temperatures really cold. Here we've got those winds again, and we're going to review them once more. They're going to remain out of the north throughout most of the weekend, shifting to being out of the northeast. That's wrapping clockwise around that low pressure system, or high pressure, excuse me, but that's going to continue to be out of the north, pushing our cold air in from the northern regions. They're going to begin to shift as the wind weather patterns change. Notice how they continue to retain that clockwise flow, and then as we get into next week, another front's going to come in and change their direction entirely. We're going to be able to get a little bit warmer on Monday as a result. We had a cloud-free day in the capital today, and that's about all there is to say about the satellite and radar. Tomorrow looks like a good day for the beach if you can stand the cooler temperatures. In fact, water temperature at 72 degrees, not quite that warm actually, but it's going to be chilly, might just be warmer than the air. We'll find out for sure tomorrow. Tonight in Tallahassee, 31 degrees. We're really on the freezing line here across the Big Bend region, from 32 in Bainbridge at exactly freezing, 33 in Thomasville, 34 in Valdosta. The warmest spot on the map here is Apalachicola, which is a little warmer because they're bounded by water on all sides. They can't get quite as chilly. Lower 60s across the board for a sunny Saturday, and the 7 days ahead, the rain's going to move in on Monday, 80% chance of rain with a high of 70, dropping down to some very cool temperatures for the rest of the week to follow. And now we're going to throw it back to Paxton and Ian, who have something to deal with the number 50 and snowfall.
Thanks, Shane. Yeah, we didn't quite have any snow here. It's been cold, but nothing what Wisconsin dealt with earlier this week.
Yeah, in a span of 4 days, they experienced 50 inches of snow.
That's a lot of snow.
Yeah, it is. 1 inch is a lot to me.
They had 50 inches of snow over the span of 4 days, and this was brought about by that cold front that passed through here. Same system brought all that snow, and then after that event, lake effect snow, which we were talking about earlier. So,
yeah. Lake effect is affecting a lot of things across the nation.
Yeah, the lake effect snow is a big factor in a lot of snow for areas, especially in the north around the Great Lakes. So they have been dealing with that, and we won't be dealing with that anyway in here, but what we are going to be talking about is more cool weather, not quite in the precipitation form, but definitely in terms of temperature. So we've had cold conditions ever since that cold front passed through earlier this week, and that will continue on into the week as we have, or weekend rather, as we had that cold front pass through bring dry weather. So much of Florida, you can see here, is dry as we continue with that until our next wave of cold front. A very strong cold front should be coming through later on into the week. Water vapor shows behind that cold front all this dry air, which we had to go through here yesterday into today. So dry air is going to persist into this weekend. It's going to be generally cold for most of the area, especially overnight. Should have freezing temperatures for areas especially west of Tallahassee. And down in Miami, as that cold front kind of sits on top of them, they'll have a little bit warmer temperatures with a precipitation and moisture sitting on top of them. But current dew points show that exact story, 66 as your dew point in Miami and Key West, 54 in Miami rather. And as you can see towards the north, definitely drier conditions with a 23-degree dew point, so a lot less moisture in the air for areas over northern Florida. But in front of that, definitely going to be better conditions in terms of the dryness in Miami. Shouldn't be as it is here in northern Florida. But current conditions show that those temperatures, they're starting to drop already as that sun starts to set. 52 degrees in Tallahassee, 50 in Jacksonville. We have 77 in Miami, so they're definitely not complaining about those temperatures. But definitely cooler temperatures for the areas in the north, and it's expected to be freezing overnight. Current wind shows those winds out of the north will continue to bring that cold Arctic blast from that direction. So you'll continue to see those temperatures drop as those northerly winds bring about more of that cold weather. Watches, warnings, and advisories. We have a number of freeze warnings in effect tonight, as you can expect some temperatures below 32 degrees for much of the area, for west of the here in the Panhandle, all the way up through Georgia. So they can expect this overnight. So it's going to be very cold conditions for them there. Definitely going to be making sure to put some covers over their plants, as those plants will probably die if they do not, because there's going to be cold conditions overnight. Radar shows not really a whole lot at all. It's dry conditions, which will continue on until our next system comes on through. So dry weather for the weekend. As we move on down to the south, still going to be dry again behind that cold front. But once we move into Miami, you can see here the cold front's already passed. This is a return error, so they unfortunately, or they're not getting any rain here, but dry conditions will continue for much of the area there. And as we move on into the rest of Florida, you can see tonight's forecast shows cold conditions will continue with warmer conditions towards the south, but going to be freezing tonight for most of the area. Tomorrow's forecast shows much of the same, with maybe a little bit warmer conditions into the afternoon. But we're going to send it off to Matt with more.
All right, thank you so much, Ian. We got a cool new segment here on the show that we want to talk about, and that's the winter weather conditions going on across the entire country. There's snowfall falling everywhere. We're moving out of that summer tropical time and pushing into winter. So Jack Frost is making himself known across the country. We're going to take a look what's going on around the country with that snowy weather. Here's the current snowfall right now across the country. You can see quite a bit of it has fallen in the upper Midwest here, especially focusing up on Minnesota, Idaho, and down into Wyoming. Lots of snow. It's a white November 14th here across the country. So maybe a white Christmas, who knows? We'll get there in about a month. But for now, we're going to go ahead and take a look at a little bit closer at what's going on with the snowfall in some of these areas. Idaho is just getting inundated with some really strong winter weather right now. This is actually going to be our next cool weather maker later on into next week. This is going to be causing quite a bit of cool weather pouring into our area. And see this rain and freezing rain and snow indicated by the colors here on the radar. This is a pretty bad day in parts of Idaho, unless you like that kind of weather, but I'm not really a huge fan of that. But moving on over to the next area of snowfall, look at the radar here. All lit up with this lake effect snow. This is all snow in here, and as Casey and I were talking about a lot earlier on in the show, this lake effect snow is from that wind pouring down in from Canada, crossing over those lakes. All the big Great Lake regions up here are really just pouring all of that moisture and turning it into snow over the land masses of the Northeast. But the satellite and radar across the entire country shows that cold front that moved on through the area here through our area and brought in that cooler weather that we're seeing now, all that lake effect snow up here in towards the Northeast. And then behind it is where we see our next system going to be moving in very shortly or later in the weekend. But let's move on to those current conditions across the country, because it is a cold one out there, folks, even down here, except in the Southwest. The Southwest, you're dealing with quite warm and mild and comfy conditions, and Miami. So if you're heading down for the UM game to cheer on the Noles as they play UM, you're going to be feeling rather comfortable down there. But pushing on into the wind chill factor that makes it feel a lot cooler outside. 2 in Billings. I've been picking on Billings all week long because you're just downright freezing, and that I'm not a huge fan of that, but if you are, then head on up to Billings. But anyway, tonight's forecast, you're looking mighty cold down here, reaching the 30s down in Tallahassee and across the country. We're in the teens, and then moving on into tomorrow. We're rebounding nicely in the southern half of the country, but in the northern half where all that snowfall is falling, it is quite cool outside. And then now, well, we're pushing on into another story that we have. We're going to be sending it on out to John, who was in the Union earlier today reporting. So, John, what you got?
It was 50 years ago today on November 14th, 1964, that Oglesby Union opened under the old name, the University Union, here with the first Olympic-sized swimming pool here at Florida State University, as well as a new auditorium, some new study facilities, some gaming rooms, as well as some new dining options. The dining options have changed though over the last 50 years, and today you can come out and get some free food at the 50th commemoration ceremony of that dedication to students and staff here until 8 o'clock this evening here in the Oglesby Union and on the Union Green here with carnival rides, as well as food such as corn dogs, some popcorn, cotton candy, and those sort of things, and enjoy all of the things we have that Oglesby Union offers today, including bowling, some billiards, as well as Club Down Under here at Florida State University. Have a great day, and go Noles.
And I ran back to the studio just to tell you about the weather 50 years ago. I wanted to jump back to this because it was so interesting. On this day, it was 82 degrees for a high temperature on that day, a low of 62 degrees, and high pressure was in control. Now, fast forward 50 years until now, and we're about 20 degrees cooler in most spots. 52 degrees right now inside the Union with partly cloudy skies and a much drier dew point than it was 50 years ago. Dew points on that day were in the 60s, so you need the chopstick today. 50 years ago, you probably needed a little bit of some layering to take off because it was so warm back then. Clouds were also escaping back then, and much the same today.
All those clouds from yesterday are now gone. Satellite's almost blank with just a few clouds lingering and pushing through the area from west to east. 52 degrees is the temperature right now here in Tallahassee, 56 in Carabel, and 52 in Apalachicola. These temperatures are going to start to plummet in the next hour or so as the sun has now gone down. 46 degrees in Thomasville, 54 in Monticello. If you have some time, head out to the Union. The 50th birthday celebration continues. 45 degrees is where we'll be by 8 o'clock. 42, there will be a wind chill, so it's going to feel a little bit like a little cool out there with that north wind at 5 miles an hour or so. Heading around tonight, you're going to want the jacket tonight. 31 degrees with clear and cold skies. Wind chill in the upper 20s with winds north at 5 miles per hour. If you're heading around town or up towards the north, it's going to feel like the 20s. And heading into Saturday morning, we're looking like 38 degrees. You're going to need that jacket out there. 61 degrees with some brisk conditions out there with the wind picking up to about 10 miles per hour. Rapidly cooling after dark, 52 degrees for your afternoon forecast. And if you're heading down towards Miami, here's your football forecast here. 74 degrees for your Miami forecast. One of the warmest spots in the country. Cooling down to 72 degrees. Not much change during the evening hours. Northeast winds at 5 miles an hour, not going to throw off that kick into the poles there during the evening hours. If you're heading around the next 7 days, I want to take a minute on this because the Miami game is going to be about 10 degrees warmer than it will be here tomorrow, but it's going to start off cool. If you're heading to a tailgate here in Tallahassee, it's going to start out cool. Freezing conditions here. Liberty and Gadsden counties are in a freeze warning tomorrow morning. 71 degrees. We're going to start a slow warm up on the weekend, but that's going to come with a trade-off because look at that rain chance on Monday. Clouds are going to start to pour in on Sunday, and then really we're going to start to shake things up on Monday with some thunder and lightning with some heavy rain. That's the first rainfall in 31 days when it happens on Monday, and then falling back down into the mid-20s on Wednesday with wind chills possibly in the upper teens in South Georgia and low 20s across Florida. And then slowly we start to march back up towards the end of next week with some sunshine returning, heading back for another dry spell. I'm looking forward for a little bit of rain. It's been a while here.
It has been a while here, which is just perfect for us since we do have that 50th birthday today for the Union.
Yeah, no rain in our forecast tonight to celebrate Oglesby Union's 50th birthday.
Yes, and there's plenty of activities out there today too. They have some rides, some swirly rides.
Swirly rides, carnival rides, whatever you want to call them. But yeah, until 8 o'clock tonight, they'll have those carnival rides out there for you to enjoy. And that's not all. There's other events going on too.
Yes, they also have food out there too. They have corn dogs and cotton candy, so you could get some snacks before your dinner.
Nutritional.
Very nutritional. And they have Hannibal Buress at 9 p.m. in the Union Ballrooms if you're seeking a comedian.
Yeah, so they've got that going on. But, you know, looking ahead past this weekend, we're going to have some rain on Monday. Like as John had talked about, 80% chance of rain.
Yes, that's a high rain chance for us. We have not seen those values in quite some time. And if you look at Wednesday, we have a 25-degree low, and I don't really like that.
It's going to be a cold one.
Yeah.
But, hey, if you're going to stay tuned to us, why don't you follow us on Facebook for more?
And you can like us on Facebook or watch us on live stream or YouTube.
Twitter.
We even have an Instagram page as well. But, you know, I'm just excited for the football game tomorrow.
Yeah, there's a lot of pressure on FSU for this weekend, but hopefully they can pull it through at Miami. But thank you for staying tuned for us, but have a great afternoon.